The newly elected Labour leader of Hammersmith and Fulham Council has promised to try to save a school that was under threat of closure. Sulivan Primary was due to merge with a nearby primary, with its site taken over by a new free school.
The campaign to save Sulivan School was almost a 9-month campaign which ran from July 2013 through to May 2014. July 2013, the council decided they were going to get rid of Sulivan School, close it down, concrete over the site and build a new secondary boys Church of England free school. Up at that point, Sulivan was been a successful and popular school, so there was no rational reason that anybody could think why they wanted to do that, other than that there were people who wanted a different school, and those were the kind of people that our Tory council wanted to appease and meet their needs. So I just went round to schools and said, there's the good luck card, send it to Sulivan. Don't ask people to send a good luck, say there it is, just do it. So everything from big media campaigns, to cakes, to praying, to beeping the lot, but get out of your patch and get onto their territory. For most of the campaign, we really felt confident, and because we were making such a big impact, not just in the little community around Sulivan School, but across the borough. It had become a borough-wide issue. So schools, people hadn't even heard of Sulivan or knew where that part of the borough was, had heard about it. So we knew it was going. It was just when we had finally run out of any further way to go, because in the end you had to get the people who had voted to close it to vote to keep it open, and they weren't going to listen to anything rational. They became more and more offensive to us. We forced their backs against the wall, so although it had been a tremendously engaging campaign, suddenly we realised after 9 months that we'd run out of options.
This school makes you be the best you can ever be. I've had 6 children come to this school, one's still here, and they've all done well in life, and it was the grounding at Sulivan.
Parents, particularly the teaching assistants, had a lot of links to the community, the teachers, other schools were being drawn in, local politicians, it became more and more of an important issue. The Labour Party took it on as an important issue during that campaign, so it fed into the local mosques and so on. It became a big wide issue, a social media one, an on the streets one, a petitioning one, a lobbying one. We were in coaches going off to Whitehall and Downing Street. We were coming up to the town hall. We were knocking on doors in the very streets where the councillors who were responsible for the closures, we were knocking on their neighbours' doors and on their doors, trying to get them to change their mind.
We would come to the school gates with our banners, we'd hand out leaflets, we'd have conversations with people on the parent consultation nights that the school held. We had a big march through the city with wheelie bins and bugles, and we had a comedy event in the park that people came to. We used a lot of social media. Twitter was one way of communicating, but the Facebook group grew quite significantly, and we had our own website, which was invaluable for getting our message out there. We put up all the letters we sent to the governors there, even where they never got responses, so we were able to document that the letters the issues that we were trying to raise with the governors that we never heard from them about.
Hands Off Hove Park School was sung by crowds of demonstrators last night as they gathered outside the Neville Road campus.
It was in March 2014 that I first heard about this plan, and that was through an e-newsletter from Brighton Trades Council. A few parents were rallying a meeting of the governing body that night, and I joined them and found them there. One of the parents, Sharon Dougal, had already been in touch with Anti-Academy Alliance.
Whose school? Our school. Keep it bright and home.
So I arrived to find an A5 leaflet and a petition already printed. We got a page of signatures on the night and email addresses, and from there developed a working group and organised planned a public meeting. Over 180 people turned up at that public meeting, which was held in a local church hall, thanks to crucial financial support from the NUT. Students, parents and even a few brave teachers came along. Most just wanted to find out more about the academy, what academy status might mean, because the school hadn't at that point told them anything.
We like our school the way it is, 'cause it's a school and not a business. Privatisation just makes things worse. We want a school puts children first.
By the end of the meeting, a near unanimous vote for direct action against the academy had passed, and this was reported on South East Today and in the local press.
Hove Park School protested against plans to switch to an academy. Teachers, union reps and parents picketed outside the secondary school's 2 campuses.
The proposal here was for a converter academy rather than a forced academy. Hove Park has become a really good school as a comprehensive. Staff here are incredibly dedicated.
In May, Brighton and Hove City Council passed a motion to oppose academies in principle, which is the advantage of having a minority Green council, and Labour abstained to let that through. And they agreed to hold the parent ballot we wanted, but that the school was refusing to even consider. Later that month, it eventually unravelled that the governing body was missing 3 parent governors, which was 50% of our representation. They just hadn't bothered holding the elections. We insisted they held the elections, but as with our other correspondence, the school and the chair of governors just ignored us. We asked the Director of Children's Services to step in, which he did, and elections were insisted on, and the votes on academy status postponed until after the summer holidays. This in itself was a major victory because they wanted the conversion to go through by July. Throughout the summer term, students and parents voiced their opposition in a variety of ways, making banners and Michael Gove face masks, blitzing the school with badges. Here's one. Our D-Day was July the 15th. This was the day the parent ballot, organised by the local authority, in which nearly 600 families voted, returned a vote of 71% opposition to academy status. We knew this would make it really hard for the head to say he had the parents on board, which is what he had been saying. The following day, the school was closed by striking teachers, overwhelmingly opposed to the proposals, nor could the head tell the governors he had the staff on board, which he had been doing. Later that day, the anti-academy parent governors were elected in a landslide victory, and as if that wasn't enough, this was the day the news broke that Michael Gove had been demoted. We sank a few there.
The amazing staff in this room have carried us through. I'm sorry.
An assembly with a difference at Sulivan Primary this morning. No pupils, but plenty of emotion. Until last week, these teachers thought their school was going to shut in September to make way for a new secondary free school for boys. But the recent elections have changed all that. The new Labour Council saying it will build more homes locally, so the school will still be needed.
And I think one of the reasons they lost the council was, frankly, we wore them out. We wore them down. They spent so much time dealing with us. I think they did take their eye off the ball of the election. And they didn't know they were going to lose it, and we didn't know until we were going to win it, until about 3 o'clock on the Friday morning, just after the voting had taken place that time. And then we won. And that's it.
Hammersmith and Fulham Council announces its intention to review Sulivan and New King's primary plans. Hammersmith and Fulham says it intends to review the decision taken in February to close Sulivan by effectively merging with the newly expanded New King School. It now intends to publish proposals to revoke those decisions.
On Monday morning, a rumour emerged that Mr Trimmer, the head teacher and the driving force behind the academy proposal, was now advising the governors to vote no. At 5:30 p.m, parents and students were joined at the gates by teachers, union leaders, press and Green councillors. We sang our song and we waited. At 8 p.m, a letter to parents started pinging into smartphones stating that the governors have decided that Hove Park will not convert to an academy. We'd won.
The result was celebrated by dozens of campaigners when it was announced at 8 p.m. last night that the school would not be converted into an academy.
So how did we do it? Well, networks were a vital element. I have to thank the Anti-Academies Alliance for their unwavering support and unbeatable advice. Also trade union branches across Brighton and Hove, and especially the NUT and Unison, who donated money to the campaign and crucially linked parents to the Anti-Academy staff within the school. When people said to us it's a done deal, we said no, it's not. When people called us loudmouths, we just got louder. When people said we were disrupting our children's education, we said, this is the education I want my child to have, where you learn to stand up to decisions made on high that affect your life. So networks, knowledge, creativity and bloody hard work. As union members, you already know your real strength is in sticking together and taking direct action. There was never a genuine consultation at Hove Park, and given their experience with us, the DFE will make damn sure there isn't one at any other school. The reason is simple: they can't win the argument. They can't win the economic argument, the democratic argument, the moral argument, and certainly not the educational argument. So they won't have the debate. But we won it, and if an academy plan comes to your school, so can you.
Their argument for academisation was that, it was a moral thing. How do you sort of counter those arguments with parents who might sort of be believing all those things? I'm thinking about the baseline campaign, and how to tell parents that actually it's not a good idea and don't believe the sort of line that these people are putting forward.
There wasn't any educational validation of this programme, which is all they've ever said about it, is that it brings on better results. So the minute you can start to communicate that, people come on board because they've never heard that before, and they care.
I think a couple of things. It is important to try and grab the language right at the beginning. I mean, one of our strengths that we had was the school, had a good reputation. So we picked on our points very quickly. Also, I think there is something in here as well. It's how we came over as the union. For a lot of people who are involved in this was their first ever contact with a union.
The campaign that we have led has been absolutely extraordinary and has brought in members of just teachers, fellow teachers who maybe were not in the union, have joined the union, so there is some positive aspect in that.
Victories are very rare, but when we do win them, like the Hove Park thing, we were inspired by that at the time. All the other places in Brighton that might have gone down that road, we don't know about. It's not keeping us awake at night. But the Hove Park thing really cheered us up.
It always has to be positive. Every contribution anybody makes has to be appreciated, and the thanks given and the celebration of it as you go along. And I think that's something that people really enjoyed about the campaign, that they could dip in and dip out as they felt they had the time and the energy to do so that was spread, and there was no comeback if you didn't. So it made it accessible to a lot of people.
The NUT draw attention as much as possible to these things in my city, but I still think that it is a conspiracy against the people, more or less.
It's not necessarily a conspiracy. A lot of people say this, but it's just about communication often, not conspiracy. You can stop academy conversions, and that inspires me to think that you can take this further and fight any attempt to take public resources and institutions out of public ownership. So it was inspiring from top to bottom. You can win an anti-academy campaign, but let's use the same spirit to fight to save children's centres, old people's homes, whatever it is, we can save these institutions.
One of the reasons why there were lots of different people we could draw in to that campaign, for instance, the person who came down and organised the website, that we had an official website, and which had to keep within the bounds of not bringing the council into disrepute and putting staff at risk, but we also had an unofficial one where we could say whatever we wanted, with complete freedom and so on. But one of the reasons we were able to pull in people was because for some years previously, apart from doing all the normal union work, we had actually supported people in their campaigns, which might be to do with education or children, or which weren't necessarily about our members. So we supported the children's centres, we supported campaigns over as zebra crossings. We had done previous campaigns with parents in other schools. So there was a network of people that we could draw in. So one of the things is, do the keep fertilising the soil all the time and digging it over. You know, it's not just getting people to join our campaigns, it's us joining other people's campaigns in our community, and that was one of the reasons why I think we got so many things underway within the first week of having been told that the school was going to be closed. So we wasted no time setting up an organising structure. It was almost there from the word go. We just had to bring it all together.